let's take another angle from the view of the current global regulatory trends that are happening. Of course, it's not catch-all. It's just to represent what's going on right now. As you see over the map, there are various regulation changes. Now, what's important here is there's no one regulatory trend that you're seeing across, but instead, there are many regulation changes that are happening at the same time across the region, across the different areas, and with multiple drive towards it. Tighter substance control, expansion of inventory registration and reporting requirements, variety of GHS implementation across the globe. And then all with the different pace, different timeline, different expectation. So this is the current global regulatory view that we are navigating right now. So in fact, it actually impacts not just local at one value chain. It cut across to end of the entire value chain, from the raw material availability, from the manufacturing and supply continuity, which Christophe touched quite a fair bit in terms of how it can affect from logistics supply chain perspective. Number 3, market access, customer communication. Number 4, the speed, the cost, and the data burden. So there are examples being described down there in terms of how this could affect the entire end-to-end of the supply chain. All right, now let's take a look from signal to execution, from regulatory changes, development into actionable decision. It needs to take into consideration a few of the important processes over here, starting from regulatory intelligence, detection from early warning, up to how do we then understand the regulation change subject to your market? Who are your end users? Is it cosmetic? Is it automotive? Is it semiconductor? And then assess the impact on all the portfolio, all the value chains need to be covered. Number 4, how do we then decide, prioritize? Cross-functional alignment is very, very critical over here. And then number 5, how do we execute consistently? And then with all the risks being covered. Lastly, once you put that in place, you need to monitor. You need to make sure all the compliance measures are being executed accordingly. So in a nutshell, from early signal to effective action, it takes quite a fair bit of steps. It needs to be coordinated well. Now, moving on into Asia-Pacific regulatory hotspot. What's important here is the region is very dynamic. As you can see some example quoted there, the regulatory changes is very, very diverse. Now, one important message here, Asia-Pacific is not one market. It consists of many economies, all at a different pace, different regulatory maturity, different expectation, different enforcement unit, different policies. Therefore, on the right side, you can see various key themes across Asia-Pacific. So the key message here is there's variety, dynamic changes, anticipate locally, and organizations need to manage it regionally and globally. Can company work alone in silo? No, company need to manage this in close collaboration. Industry alignment are very, very important through association engagement, through active dialogue with authorities. One example that I put on there is the ASEAN Regulatory Cooperation Platform, and then I know speakers in other days will elaborate a little bit more on ARCP. So this particular example describes the aim and purpose of the regulatory platform, ARCP, and then the association engagement that takes place to such regulatory platform, align industry position, share expertise, and very, very crucial is to have dialogue with authorities. Early engagement, support practical and consistent implementations is not just about going into the dialogue and say, this doesn't work for us, we can't have this, but rather share example, share best practices, provide example or solution that can be looked into or incorporated. So with this, the nutshell, collaboration across industry, authorities, and regions helps deliver effective, proportionate, and consistent regulation. Regulatory change is not slowing down, no. And for companies operating across region and value chain, the question is no longer whether the change is happening. The real question here is, can we translate regulatory change into timely, coordinated, and practical action, because no one-size-fits-all approach. And because regulatory change must be managed across the value chain. And because data and digital capability has now become core compliance enabler. And because collaboration is essential, not just within company, but beyond company.